All right, guys, I want to make a pretty quick video, not too long, and talk about how this whole AI situation is really getting out of control, and it could be a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you where do you sit on this whole AI revolution. Uh, what do want to tie to is how it's starting with the really creative side, and that's how they're selling us this whole AI thing. And I want you to understand that the term artificial intelligence AI has been around for well over 50 years. If you look at Philip K. Dick, PKD, one of the most famous science fiction writers of our time, whose movies have become, whose novels have become really big movies like Total Recall, Minority Report, several others. He was quoted as saying, and you can actually see some of the videos on YouTube of Philip K. Dick when he was in Europe, when he was in France, and he was being interviewed by French journalists. I'm talking about back in the 60s and 70s, right? And even early 80s of some of these interviews. And he was talking about when he used to hang out, and I'll come back to that, when he used to hang out in like Hollywood parties in the 60s, right? And in the early 70s, how a lot of intelligence agencies, they would send in agents and they would pose as writers, as seances, as psychics, and but feed the whole Hollywood system, the entire creative world, feed them these future ideas. And he spoke about how he was approached several times and how he got so good at pointing them out. And eventually they told him, we work for the agency, right? And because he was becoming very prominent and a very important voice in American literature, but especially in science fiction. But I digress. And so he talked about in these interviews how, Stanford University and this whole, like, the birth of computer science out in California in like right after the mid to late 50s, early 60s, when, computing was like in its infancy, right? And this is where people like Steve Wozniak and even Steve Jobs, and I don't know if, I can't recall if both of them attended Stanford University, but like, Larry Ellison, now the CEO of Oracle, and many old school, older gentlemen, older people who graduated with computer science, they're all from this, like, I'm going to call it like the Stanford Mafia, right? The early days. And all that shit was funded by the fucking military guys, right? All that shit was funded by the government. And because this is like right after World War II, I believe it was either before or after the Korean War. And then like the Cold War set in and it was off to the races between Europe and Russia and the United States against the entire world. And so the reason why I talk about that is because we know that the internet was created by DARPA. At the time, it was called ARPANET, but DARPA is Defense and Research Projects Agency, which is completely funded by the government and the American military, the Department of Defense, so on and so forth, right? And just embedded within the IC, the intelligence community. And I want to paint this picture because this is where we're headed, right? And so fast forward to this whole AI thing. Do you guys remember that Will Smith AI video with the spaghetti video? I'm going to play right now. You guys remember this, right? This debuted in, I believe it said March of 2023. Now, I have a hypothesis about this video, but to finish off this whole Stanford University, is it Stanford or Sanford? It's Stanford University, right? My hypothesis around this is, this video, pause for a second. The term and the idea and the technology of advanced AI has been around for 50 years. And we've seen it in films like The Terminator with Skynet, this, that, and the third, and many like the computer inside 2001, A Space Odyssey. Yeah, I can't let you do that, Dave. You guys remember that, right? And so this is nothing new, and it's finally here. But for us, remember, the military, the government, Department of Defense, the American like intelligence, right? They've had this shit for like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. In its infancy, not so much like this, But when it comes to this video here, which, it's always like anonymous accounts on Reddit that leak it, or, it's on some sort of like artistic forum that leak it. And so this here, I believe, was meant to look like this on purpose. It was meant to look like, oh my God, look, it's early days. Could you imagine 6 months from now? Could you imagine for a year from now? When in fact, what you're looking at here, this is my hypothesis, is probably 10 to 15 years old. Like they've had this shit, like the government had this like probably over a decade ago. So that's my hypothesis. And over here, this is Google's VO3's rendition. And then they show you, it's a little loud. And then this is meant to show you like, oh my God, look how fast it has gotten in just like a year and a half, right? And the reason why I put this video together is because now you have Sean Astin. And Sean Astin, I just learned it this year after watching this dude on film for like 40 years. He is now the president. I can't believe it. He is the president of SAG and AFTRA, of Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA. And it says here, Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA President Sean Astin says union will address AI actress Tilly Norwood with agents and continue to fight for AI compensation, right? So there is a massive backlash against studios and networks wanting to use AI performers and replacing actors, replacing live human actors. And it's incredible because we've seen Sean Astin, can you believe this dude was in like Goonies and Lord of the Rings? This Sean Astin, he's now the president. He's now the president of SAG-AFTRA. And so you can, I'll link this in the description. You can go ahead and read this. And basically, he's talking about how, he's going to fight for AI compensation in the sense, in the favor of the actual human actor, because this is where we're going, guys. And I want to bring this to your attention. You've seen these, like, remember like about a year ago, you started seeing these AI channels. Now, I'm not picking on these channels. These channels are incredible, okay? And for example, Imagine, Almost Real, right? These are amazing channels. But here's one thing that really are red flags for me personally. Now, there are AI tools that are helping you to make music. I mean, on the fly. You have, I believe, Suno. You can actually put in a prompt, and on the outro of my gaming videos, you'll hear this like lo-fi hip hop beat. That actually was made on Suno with a couple of prompts that I gave it, and I use it as an instrumental, but as an outro, right? But the reason why I talk about this is because now you have these channels popping out of nowhere, and the first thing I do is look at the born on date. This is June of 2025, just like a couple months ago. Here's another one. Imagine. Imagine was born on date was January of this year. And already you have like a whole bunch of videos and a whole bunch of shorts. And they're cranking these out. In the case of like Almost Real, look, a day ago, 10 hours ago, 6 hours ago, 3 hours ago. And I want you to listen to how insane this music sounds. And these are today's tools. Imagine what they already have that we don't even know of. Ready? This is Usher's Yeah, but in the 1960s Motown cover. Now watch this.
Yeah. Up in the club with my homies, trying to get a little VI, keep it down on the low key, cause you know how it is. I saw the shorty, she was checking up on me. From the game she was spitting in my ear, you would think that she know me. I decided to chill. Okay. Conversation got heavy. Hey. She had me.
Now, let me tell you something. It's not like you and I can go on to like some sort of online AI tools, even if you pay for it, and says, oh yeah, make Usher's Yeah from what was it, 2003, 2004, and make it into a 1960s Motown soul cover. It doesn't work that way. And so like I go in the description, dude, I've been like going down this deep rabbit hole of all these guys' videos. But you see the insane advancements in like the AI generation of the voices. Now, like the vibrato is getting better and better. It's less robotic. I'm realizing now that most of these songs are now using background vocals. Like about 6 months ago, that was not a thing, and it sounded way too fake, way too robotic. Now, it sounds like almost real, and you can't even tell the difference. And it's going to get to that point where you won't be able to tell the difference. Now watch this. This is a different channel. And this guy already, I sorted it by popular. Look at this. Just a month ago. Dude, a fucking month ago. Metallica, like what if Metallica were a reggae band, right? And 1.1 million views. I want you to listen to this. Ready? And I queued it at the point of Ride the Lightning. One of my favorite bands of all time, Metallica, Iron Maiden, and Pantera. Now, the reason why I don't want to play the beginning, because it does sound a lot like the Fade to Black, the beginning with the guitar. So I know I will get popped. But listen to the vocals.
Life, it seems, will fade away, drifting further every day, getting lost within myself. Nothing matters, no one else. I have lost the will to live, simply nothing more to give. There is nothing more for me. Need the end to set me free.
All right, that's enough. And so, like, I went on ChatGPT and I said, look, how real of a situation would it be if record companies started testing AI music to replace the traditional artists? And the reason why I asked it that is because I think low key, listen, I know there's a bunch of like AI automation tutorials and people bragging about how much money they're making. And recently, YouTube started cracking down on all of this crap. And so now you see all of those people who made those videos are like, oh my God, it's over with the stupid fucking YouTube O-face, right? Oh, it's over, a rip, YouTube cracks down. But what YouTube isn't cracking down on these like, these I would want to call them reimagining of these songs. Now, look, this takes time, even if it's AI generated. Like, look how much this looks like Usher. Look how much that looks like Snoop. Look, Justin Bieber. What's I forget his name. The lead singer of Aerosmith, right? Like, look at this one.
I could stay away just to hear you breathing.
Like, listen to that, dude. Like, and this is the thing. Like I said, it's not like you and me can go onto a website and say, look, make it sound just like, I don't want to miss a thing. No, dude, what they're doing, they're using these AI tools. And this is my assumption, my hypothesis. These are real record company engineers and producers. And they're testing the fucking waters for the record labels. And then, like, they're testing the waters, bro. And then I went and asked ChatGPT. I said, look, how real of a situation would it be if record companies started testing AI music to replace the traditional artists? And it says that's actually happening already. And it's more real than most people realize. Here's the situation broken down, right? Now, you can pause and read, but it says how record companies are testing AI music right now. And this is like for internal projects, for licensing experiments, for demo generation. And a growing number of producers use AI to generate songs, drafts, or arrangements before real artists touch them. Now, that's a very realistic situation where I could see that happening. And actually, that is already happening, right? But what if it was the other way around? And, it keeps on going. Feel free to pause here. And it talks about how AI tools like Suno, Udio, and Stability Audio can already create entire songs in specific styles, generate coherent lyrics and vocals, match the emotional tone and human written music, right? Of human written music. But what's important to note is you notice how, like before, like just 6 months ago, guys, just 6 months ago, barely a year ago, you would do that. And like the public non-paid free versions of these services would not let you do that because it'll give you, and I tried it many times on Suno, it'll give you a prompt and says, that is copyright material. We can't do that. It'll give you like this corpo message, how you cannot upload a song expecting AI to recreate the song. But this is exactly what we're getting with these, bro. This is exactly what we're getting with these channels. And I think low key, I think that it's like the record companies, they're like, yo, this is what we're going to do. We've been already working on this for like a couple years, right? And they hired these like think tanks, and the think tanks then hire these marketing firms like that only work for like big corporations. It's not like public, it's like internal like data sets that they're using, this, that, and the third, you know, think tanks that study markets, this, that, and the third. And I said, can they use AI to rewrite older licensed music whose copyright ran out, in the case of Prince's famous legal battle with Warner Brothers, in which he rewrote his entire library, or like Taylor Swift? And those are famous cases. Like, most people don't know, and back then we didn't know. We were like, yo, why did Prince change his name to a symbol? You guys remember that? Well, there's a specific reason. The guy was a fucking genius. He was in a massive legal battle with Warner Brothers, and then he got into the studio and rewrote all of his music from scratch and just changed a couple tones here and there. That's why there's like, you know, When Doves Fly, Purple Rain, and most of the music, there are several versions. There is the Warner Brothers version, and then there is Prince's version, aka the artist formerly known as Prince. You guys remember that? And then the same thing with Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift didn't know that her manager was like ripping her off. And so what did she do? She went into the studio and she re-recorded all 7 of her albums. And so now they call it Taylor's version, or Taylor Swift's version, or something like that, where now she owns all of her what's it called when somebody owns all of the publishing rights to their masters? She owns all of their masters. And it goes, excellent question. And yes, you're describing absolutely one of the most realistic and strategic uses of AI in the music industry's near future, right? And so the whole thing with public domain plus AI equals goldmine, right? So when an artist dies, then you have 70 years to use his music. And one of those artists who are coming up is actually in a couple, I think in another decade or so, is Elvis Presley's music, right? But that's just a small example. So when an artist dies, you have 70 years until the record company can actually start using his or her music of that artist that passed away 70 years prior to do whatever they want, right? And so once a song's copyright expires, typically 70 years after the composer's death, anyone can use or remake it freely. AI now takes it trivial to recreate the instrumental and or era of a genre, generate a quote modern mix that sounds like it was recorded yesterday, so on and so forth, right? Right here, artists reclaiming their catalogs like Prince or Taylor Swift. Prince and Taylor Swift's battle set a key precedent. Control over the masters is power. Now imagine this scenario. And another artist who controls all of his masters, who did it early on, was Kid Rock. Kid Rock is actually a genius, and he's worth like several $100 million, and only because he, I forget which famous country artist told him to start owning his masters and start buying out his masters and take less money up front, but make sure you own your shit, because the money is in the publishing, right? An artist can train an AI to do on their own vocal data and style. They instruct it to reproduce or remix their past catalog in modern form. They release these as, quote, reclaimed versions as new intellectual property. And so the copyright then resets from there, just like Prince and Taylor Swift did. And guys, it goes on and on, man. Like, feel free, like I said, to pause. But this is what I think is happening, guys. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And guys, remember this? Remember, like, it was called AI generated trailers of, I guess, of the 50s or something like that. And remember, like, about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, you started seeing all of these channels started popping out of nowhere. And most of these were done by artists, like, you know, graphic and digital artists. But then you started seeing like other, how do I say this? Just like these anonymous channels, and they were cranking out like 2-3 trailers a day. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. It's got to be a studio. It's got to be some sort of like, because there is some sort of production. It's not that easy. You don't just go into AI and say, look, make me, I don't know, make me a 1950s. Look at this one.
In a world where dreams are no longer bound by reality, meet Dom Cobb, the master of extraction, a thief who steals secrets from the mind itself.
Well, you guys already know, like, look at the Star Wars one. Like I said, I don't want to pick on this channel. I'm just using this as an example.
on the edge of collapse, and only a few brave souls stand.
I actually can't use that. That's copyrighted music. But yo, look at this. Jesus Christ. I mean, pause, bro. Pause. Anyways, that's Princess Leia. She looks good. But like, there is a lot of work that goes into this. And like, there's Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's not just like, you type up a couple prompts and it spits out this. So I don't know, guys. I think that, Spotify is also using AI. They have one of their like jazz mixes that you can play in the background as you're doing work, but it's happening now. And the reason why I really, really want to talk about this, and this is a whole nother subject onto its own, whole nother video, is the fact that the World Economic Forum made and a couple of other think tanks released a study like about 2 years ago in 2023, towards the end of 2023. And they said that by 2030, which is now less than 4.5 years away, guys, okay? We're less than like 3 months away from the end of the year, almost 3 months away until the end of the year. And then it's off to the races. 4 years from January 1st, it'll be 2030. How 10 to 15%, get ready for this, anywhere from 10 to 15% unemployment worldwide. How AI is going to replace and automate, not and or, replace and automate like so many jobs, but more specifically and more like shockingly in the white collar space. So you're talking about not necessarily white collar, but it'll start there. But most importantly, this office kind of work, telemarketers, accounting, like for example, H&R Block, stuff like that. You're talking about customer service representatives, data entry, shit like that, right? There are so many jobs who will never again be worked on or used by human beings, because AI is going to it's just going to replace everything. And what it cannot replace yet, and I'm thinking this is probably 30, 40 years away, is full blown robotics like Terminator. That is very, very far into the future. Yes, I know that Tesla is working on their bipedal robotics, and other agencies. Boston Dynamics is also doing that, four-legged robotics, things like that. But that is very, very far away, okay? No robot is going to perform open heart surgery anytime within the next 50 years. I mean, famous last words. But when it comes to all this desk shit, right? And when you see those, like, how do I say this? Those, like, viral videos on TikTok and Instagram of like these girls, like, remember like I think Asmongold did one when he was critiquing one of these videos where this girl was like bragging about working for Microsoft. She goes, I go in at 7 and by 7:30 we have breakfast, and then another hour later I go into the office. You know that, right? They're like flexing because they're making $100,000 a year, 125, 130 a year, and they're barely putting like 2 hours worth of work a day. It's always like, and then after lunch we do like an hour of playtime to reduce stress. It's fucking bullshit. That's what it is, right? And you think these companies, like you think that Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Apple, you think they don't want to like increase revenue but reduce the workload and having to pay people? If they can automate this, they will, brother. And that's what's happening. And the only people who are really going to come on top, and here's another kicker, is like blue collar, the construction worker, the plumber, the electrical engineer. These jobs, I don't know, 100 years from now, I'm sure your coworker might be an android, right? But that's 100 years from now, or maybe less, right? But not anytime soon. But guess what? Most of those jobs, like garbage men, city workers, most of those jobs are men. And you notice, right? There's a trend. There's like a tie-in here, that a lot of those viral videos in which I spoke about that girl bragging about her, oh my God, her plush job at Madison Avenue, her plush job at this ad agency, right? They're all women. Now, what do you think's going to happen when these women who went to school for 4 years and studied like marketing and this, that, and the third? I mean, just insert your degree here, right? They're not going to work anywhere anymore. Go on TikTok, go on YouTube, and type in how people, the majority of them are women, and a lot of the women over the age of 35 and even 40, they're being aged out. And you're a fucking mega $1 trillion corporation. You're not going to hire any more people, dude. You're not going to hire anyone if you can automate this, if you can do this with AI. And that's why I want to bring this to your attention, because it's being sold to you as, oh, look, it's entertainment, it's art, it's music. Oh, I'm safe. Nothing's going to happen to me. But then again, right? Look at this guy, Sean Astin. He's already talking about how like, yo, we're not going to be representing fucking AI, dude. We're not going to be representing some robots, some ones and zeros on a screen. But guess what? I got news for you, Sean Astin. It's already happening. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'll be reading all of them and responding to your comments as well. Make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.